there's some decent testimony in the early church that links Clement of Rome with Peter, that he was an associate of Peter, that Peter appointed him as Bishop of Rome. Or maybe, no, he didn't appoint him as Bishop of Rome, but that he had some apostolic ties. So if we kind of have an idea of who wrote First Clement, and that person had apostolic ties, well, the early church tradition is that Mark had apostolic ties to Peter. So if you've got this kind of tie of Clement to Peter and perhaps some other apostles, why was First Clement excluded, whereas Hebrews was included?
Yeah, very good question. The easiest answer is I don't know why it was finally excluded, but it was included as late as the 5th century in Codex Alexandrinus as a part of the scripture collection of the New Testament. But also Second Clement, which most now agree Clement of Rome didn't write. And we're not sure that he was actually a bishop of Rome. That's a disputed question also, but he certainly was a prominent teacher and wrote to the Corinthians and cited both Peter and Paul's death. And he says, be careful with the people in your leadership role and don't abuse them and that kind of stuff. But it was a highly regarded text, and even by the church fathers when they no longer accepted it as scripture. Interestingly, inspiration was, some people said, the primary criterion for a book's acceptance was its inspiration. And I said, then Clement of Rome says that he was inspired by God to write, and so did Ignatius in his letter to the Ephesians. Inspiration was a corollary. If you said a book was scripture, then of course it was inspired by God. But there were all kinds of people in antiquity, and a terrific book that was written on this, Everett Kalin, it was his doctoral dissertation at Harvard. He spoke about everything that was true in the first 4 centuries was believed to be inspired by God. And what wasn't true was heretical. And it was uninspired by God. And so if you use inspiration as a criterion for inclusion in the biblical canon, then there's a gazillion books that never made it in, because everybody who preached, wrote, all thought that they were led by the Spirit to do so. Okay. Amazingly, I still do when I preach.
Okay.
That's a joke. Not everybody agrees with my assessment, though.
Well, it's okay. Even those viewers who may not agree with your assessments or your answers on some of these, nobody can deny that you've really looked into this and that you have informed answers. And I really appreciate your scholarship on this.